The classic poker nightmare. You have pocket kings, the pot is blowing up, and your opponent is lurking in the shadows with pocket aces. But today isn't your normal run-of-the-mill aces versus kings, no. What if you have kings and another player has kings? You're both totally dead. And what if all three of those players have $250,000 in front of them? Well, my friends, now you have a recipe for today's poker hands.
Pocket kings for double M. Han with ace queen. Dario with queen jack. Young with kings as well. And Mariano's got aces. Are you kidding me? What? What? Look at these hands. Kings, kings, aces. This is reminiscent of the World Series of Poker main event hand from a few years ago.
I have 50 behind, okay?
You cover me anyway. So thanks.
Do I?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Mariano has Young and double M covered. Young, by the way, was up 160,000 before this hand. Han has ace queen. You never know what this guy's gonna do. That dude's got heart. He's a gambler. He could just move all in with ace queen. He could also fold. And it looks like he's leaning toward a fold this time. He doesn't like it, but he does let it go. Back over to Young. So you've got a 3-bet from Young, a 4-bet from Mariano, a call from double M. Now it's back over to Young on the button with 2 black kings. These guys are deep. Young with the 5-bet. Action on Mariano. Can double M get away from it now? I think maybe he can. You ask yourself the question, can you ever fold kings pre-flop? In the face of this, you might be able to.
Once again, you know he has 50 behind.
You cover me.
Just want to make sure.
Mariano just calls.
Thank you.
happening?
Double M just moved all in.
You cover me, but
What the fuck is happening?
Wait, did he? Yes, double M moved all in. Mariano probably thinks he's up against aces also. Can Young fold now? I think he can.
I'm not sure.
I'm talking to double M.
Yeah, but he's because you're both in a hand.
It's okay. Yeah, he's all in. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're good. We're good. Don't worry about it. I'm just talking to him. I said something to him, which is totally fine because he's all in. He's all in. He didn't say anything to me.
no.
Yeah.
你听到他们说什么了吗？
Hank, I said something to him. He didn't respond to me.
240.
你听到他们说什么了吗？
What did you say, Mariano?
I can't. I can't.
Okay.
He said, this is crazy. I have upstairs, they're doing it. I got it. He said, this is crazy.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not doing anything like.
What an insane spot. I mean, if you're Young, I think you can probably find a fold. There have been very few times you fold.
Drink kind of hit me.
You don't really fold kings pre-flop, but I think you can find the fold here.
Okay, so this is my money, right?
This is your money, that's right. 100, 200, 50.
Just put it on my stack here.
Double M all in for $250,000. Mariano probably thinks double M has aces also.
He got it first. He reloaded it first. Yes. That's correct.
It's gross, but one of your opponents has aces every time.
I call.
Wow, Young.
We're dead.
Can we please
obviously.
go twice?
Oh, you have aces were
Hold
on?
on,
I have
hold on, hold on.
aces.
In the hand, once or twice.
Twice.
Our hand begins pre-flop, and unfortunately for today's video, that's also where it's going to end, but there's certainly going to be plenty of action. But before we jump into the action, I want to let you know I'm going to be playing all weekend long. In fact, when I post this video, I will be buying in for $100,000 over at the lodge. And then Sunday, I have my first taker in this $100,000 heads up challenge, Bill Perkins. We'll be buying in for $100,000 and playing at 10:30 Central Time on Sunday. I didn't think I would get much action on this 100K, but I guess people look at this spot and think it must be pretty good. Anyway, back to the action. So our hand begins at 100-200 with a $200 ante and a $400 straddle. Double M kicks things off, opening up under the gun to $1,000 with pocket kings. We got a lot of hands here that are all playable. Han looks down at ace queen in the hijack. This is the kind of hand you could 3-bet or fold or call. I don't mind any of them. You probably lean towards 3-bet or fold. I don't mind mixing in a call every now and then, but the problem is in aggressive games, a lot of times you're going to get squeezed from behind. So while this is a certainly reasonable hand to play, and you can call, just something to be aware of in more aggressive games. He decides to go ahead and call, and now Dario behind in the cutoff looks down at queen jack suited. He also has a lot of options here, except I don't think folds is on the table. His choices really are 3-bet or call. I lean towards call. I think calling, this is a kind of hand that has good post-flop playability. You're in position. But every now and then, I don't mind getting in the mix and bumping it up as well. Now on the button, Yang looks down at pocket kings. We got a lot of action happening in front of him. A lot of players trying to play their hands. So you definitely want to 3-bet. You want to 3-bet a little bit larger because of so many players. I think $6,000 is a very reasonable price to go ahead and re-raise. You're, of course, on the button going to have a variety of bluffs as well. And considering the stack depth of the player that open and the player on the button, it makes sense to get in here with a pretty wide array of hands, especially ones that will play well deep. Typically speaking, when you're this deep, like these guys both have over $250,000, you want to lean towards trying to play hands like suited aces, maybe some suited connectors, and you kind of want to stay away from some of those offsuit broadways like ace queen in this example, or maybe some of the hands that have just simply less value in these huge pots like the lowest pocket pairs. Anyway, he does decide to go ahead and 3-bet the pocket kings to $6,000 to go. And this is where things start to get extremely dicey because the action folds to Mariano in the straddle with pocket aces. It can be tempting to every now and then go for the slow play, but this is definitely not a situation you want to do it. If you just call with aces here, you're going to let the whole field in behind you, and that's the fast track to getting stacked when someone flops a set. So you need to 4-bet, which Mariano does, and he makes it $16,000 to go. This is a situation where you want to be fairly polarized in Mariano's shoes. Some suited aces, ace-5 suited type stuff, some occasional ace-king, maybe some of your high pairs, some suited broadways, and a couple suited connectors sprinkled in there is just about what you want to have, but you should be pretty tight when you do this. I will note the issue here for Mariano is going to be he is out of position on the button. This makes me think maybe that the size is a bit too small. You probably want to go for something a little more along the lines of 18, 20,000 or so. As you get deeper, or rather when you are out of position, you want to be making your 4-bet size a little bit bigger to deny some of the hands that might call and try to outflop you. Anyway, make $16,000. Now back to double M. Really difficult spot here for double M. You know, the problem with a lot of these situations in Ring, and I am not the end-all expert at multi-way 4-bet spots and 5-bet spots. In fact, you could argue I know nothing about them. But what I will say is that when you call in these situations, you're getting pretty terrible odds. So I think there's two kinds of approaches you can go with here. I think if you want to only have calls in this situation and not re-raise again, which is almost certainly wrong to do, to only have calls, I don't mind just calling your continue range here. So you call something like jacks plus or tens plus, maybe you even fold tens some of the time, just fold jacks some of the time. And then you also continue when you have some hands like ace king, maybe a few ace-5 suited type hands and a couple suited broadways. With the idea being you're not going to have re-raises this deep. You're not going to be playing 5-bet pots or 6-bet pots, but you're going to have a very strong range. Your opponent's going to have a tough time bluffing, and you're going to be uncapped post-flop. Now, what you're probably supposed to do here is very rarely call and instead play 5-bet or fold because your odds are terrible and you don't want the button to get involved in the pot. If you're going to do that, then you probably want to be 5-betting with hands like aces and kings, mixing in some queens and jacks, and sometimes even folding those hands pre-flop. I know, cover your ears, guys. This is full ring poker and we're deep. Sometimes queens just gets tossed into the muck. Don't tell your friends about it, and certainly don't do it on a live stream where everyone will see you. That's how you never get invited back. Actually, I played a queen's hand the other day where I just played it really weak and ended up folding. Oh shit, I should have said that on YouTube. Can we edit that part out? I think the main thing when you get really deep in a lot of these situations is just to know kind of how you're going to deal with it. And if you're going to have raises, you need to make sure you're mixing in bluffs. So if you want to 5-bet aces here and you want to 5-bet kings, make sure you also sometimes use a hand like ace 5 suited or ace 4 suited or ace king, or mix in a couple bluffs, 6-7 suited, 7-6 suited. Just have a couple hands in there, okay? Anyway, back to the hand. Double M decides he's just going to play this slow and call, which definitely seems reasonable with kings. You don't want to be putting in all of your money in this situation with pocket kings if it just goes to town pre-flop. Again, we're very deep here. We're something like 600 blinds deep. You do not want to be playing for all your chips under the gun with pocket kings for 600 blinds. They're going to have aces a lot. Anyway, Double M does end up making the call, and the action folds back around to Yang on the button with pocket kings. Very interesting spot now for Yang. He sees in front of him Double M making this call. He's got to feel relatively good against Double M here because I would assume Double M would be 5-betting aces, at least some, if not all the time. And then additionally, when he calls, it looks a lot more like queens or jacks or ace king or something like that. So he should be a lot more concerned about Mariano. That said, Mariano could have a hand like queens or jacks himself, or ace king, or a hand like, let's just say every now and then, ace queen suited or ace 5 suited. So there are still plenty of hands that he is ahead of. The question now becomes, if you 5-bet here with pocket kings and either one of your opponents goes all in, what are you going to be up against? And I'm struggling to find too many bluffs. Maybe every now and then your opponent is a total sicko and they just go ham with ace 5 suited. But outside of that, and I think that's pretty unlikely, I just don't really feel like you're getting value here with your kings. This is the kind of raise where, are you ahead? Probably. But when you're not, you're going to lose all your chips. However, all of those things considered, I'm sure in theory, correct poker does re-raise kings here sometimes because you are so likely ahead of both players. So, oh my God, should you 5-bet fold kings? God, folding is so dumb. Folding is so dumb. Sorry, I mean, it's a great game. Full ring is awesome. Let's get 12 people at the table. Maybe 14. How many people can we fit at one table? That'd be great. Let's just squeeze them all in there. It's just disgusting. Anyway, what do you do with pocket kings here in Yang's shoes? I guess you probably mainly flat, but every now and then I don't mind mixing in the 5-bet. He makes $55,000 to go. The size does seem reasonable. I might go slightly smaller here. I don't think either player is going to be looking to flat a 45K or a 50K 5-bet all that often. So I think in position, you're a little less worried about people trying to realize their equity. So I might go a bit smaller. Back over to Mariano now. I feel like this hand just pre-flop has so many decisions. Just so many raises after one after another. Okay. So for Mariano now, facing this 5-bet, it's kind of similar to the situation the Double M was in earlier where you can decide to just continue with all of your hands as a call, or you can decide to begin to raise with basically aces or just a couple occasional bluffs. I think Mariano in this situation, I think not ever raising again is totally fine. The downside is you let Double M in behind, but you do have pocket aces. I think that just calling all your hands that you want to continue with here is good, and that range is going to be super, super, super narrow. The counter to that would be if your range is that narrow, maybe you should just be jamming, which is also, I don't know, guys. I really don't know. Someone get out your goddamn 600 big blind preflop chart because why am I saying shit? All right. Anyway, Mariano does decide to call. Now back over Double M again. I mean, like if I'm Double M in this spot, Yang has 3-bet 5-bet. He can have aces. Mariano has cold 4-bet called a big 5-bet. He can have aces. I've got kings. I don't know. I really don't know. I guess you have to ask yourself, how often do you think that neither player has aces, right? And I think that for Yang to 3-bet, 5-bet, he can have aces. He can clearly have kings. He can maybe every now and then have like an ace king or an ace 5 suited or something like that. But I think it's unlikely Yang is going to 5-bet those two. I think it's unlikely Yang is going to 5-bet ace king because you're going to have to fold to a jam. So Yang really has some kind of bluff aces or kings. You have kings, so you know that's what's likely. I think Double M should be pretty scared here. And then on top of it, Mariano's behind in a spot where he can really have aces. So I don't know. I mean, look, I don't blame Double M for just jamming it in here. And I think players being scared of aces versus kings tends to be a pretty big leak in people's games. Lord knows how many times we've seen pre-flop folds with kings just be completely idiotic. But if you're going to let one go, or maybe just call and see a flop, this seems as reasonable as any. Anyway, Double M does jam now. Back to Yang. Now Yang is in a spot where Mariano can have kings and Double M can have, Mariano can have aces and Double M can have aces. But I will say that I see a lot of people kind of coming after Yang. There is an important note here. Both Double M and Mariano at different points in this hand just called pre-flop. Double M just called the 4-bet. Mariano just called the 5-bet. Some players do not trap aces ever. So if Yang is of the mind that players do not trap aces, and he saw a call from each of them at different points, in his head he might be thinking, well, you know, I would never call aces to a raise. I think most players would never call aces to a raise. I've seen each player call. So I just don't think either guy has aces. And I don't super blame that logic because versus most players, I think that's actually fairly accurate. I don't think most players are willing to call aces pre-flop. I think most players just keep raising. So there are definitely lineups where even with all this action, you still are feeling pretty good with kings because both players have called at some point. When you get to these stakes versus talented players, I don't think that's the case anymore. But I do think that there is some logic there. People are kind of just avoiding when they talk about, would you put kings in for this many blinds? In general, probably not. He should probably fold. But if he thinks that both players would just keep raising aces, then I can understand where he's coming from by ripping it in. Oh yeah, and this decision from Mariano at the end seems pretty good. I like the call when two guys go all in with the same hand, drawing basically dead. Yeah, I think it's nice to call with aces here. That concludes the poker strategy. Let's talk about some things happening in this hand that are not poker strategy. So for starters, I do very much love Mariano asking, can we please run this twice? We're about to have an $800,000 pot. Mariano wants to run this multiple times, and that is a very, very, very fair thing. I think he's playing with people that are going to oblige. But I will say, in some games, people will not do this, and you're going to have to just live or die on one board. So it's fine to want to run it multiple times, but just keep that in mind. And I also think he should slow play a little bit here. If Mariano says, yeah, I'd rather run it twice, people might do it. But if someone is stuck and tilted and they're angry at you and you're like, please run it twice, sometimes people will just shower your face because they're like, you know what? I'm stuck. I'm losing. Fuck this guy. Just a little tip for you guys at home. Also, when Double M goes all in, Mariano lets him know he has aces. But this gets a little dicey because essentially Yang, he's not great with English, as Nick Airball explains a little bit later, and thinks that there's something shady going on because of how much money is involved. So you have a couple different perspectives, right? Mariano is trying to be nice here. He's trying to say, I've got aces. I don't want Double M to sit here for 10 minutes and think he's going to win or has a chance when I'm going to stack him. I just want to let him know. So he's trying to be nice. Also, Double M, he can't influence the action anymore, right? Because in this situation, he's all in. Or he can influence the action rather, but he can't make a different decision. So him knowing that he's cooked against aces is not actually going to impact any decisions in the hand. The problem is Yang doesn't know exactly what they're saying or what was said. And so I think typically speaking, even in big pots, you should probably just wait until it's your turn to show and then talk. I know it sucks if you like people or it's a huge pot and you don't want to make them wait, but It's just the most fair thing to do, and you're going to avoid these kinds of dicey situations. I will note, I don't think that Mariano did something unethical here. I think he was trying to be nice, but it could cost him a lot of money if his opponent hears. And also it could influence the action in a way where a player might call and win, or they fold, or whatever might happen. I think typically you just simply want things to be on the up and up, and just don't say anything, even though it will suck for your opponent. So all three players are all in. We got $750,000 on the table in this pot. But before we see the runouts, can we go live in the field? Mariano, what are your thoughts on this hand?
Hey Doug, aces are a good hand. Back to you.
Thank you for your thoughts here, Mariano. We certainly appreciate it. All right, you guys. We have made you wait long enough. What's going to happen in this board? Will the aces hold, or are the kings going to do some crazy, wild shit here with no equity?
Twice?
We're dead. If he's tanking this much, we're dead. You're good.
Once or twice?
Can we please go twice?
What do you have?
2 times then.
He has kings? We're dead.
Okay.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
This is a $750,000 pot. Aces versus kings versus kings.
I know. Well, when he tanked for as long as he did, I knew I was dead.
No, I know. I'm just saying the reason I said that to you like right away.
Thank you.
You know, I was like I don't want you to sit here and like, you know.
I appreciate it.
我不知道他在说什么，他可能跟他在说一些，
He loves you. Twice.
Unbelievable spot there. That was 3-bet, 4-bet,
I knew he was
5-bet,
tanking that I was dead.
6-bet, all in. Or 7 bets. I don't even know. Just pure insanity. This is a $750,000 pot. Mariano has them both covered. By the way, both players have 1 live suit.
I leave.
Mariano is in disbelief. Aces versus kings. And each player with over $250,000 in front of them. And that's it.
That's it.
That is it. Turn in the river, meaningless. Mariano has just won
This ended.
a $750,000 pot.
He covers me, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
I don't like it.
And then can you pay
just
him
leave.
back the...
Yeah. I take a.
Just put it on next stack, please. Thank you.
我不知道他们在说什么，他们。
Thank you guys for joining me today for Poker Hands. Once again, I am currently at the lodge buying in for $100,000. If you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description below. Also, if you like this hand from the Hustler, make sure you check out their stream. I'll put a link there in the description below as well. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow for my match with Bill Perkins, or today, or whatevs. Poker.